Ah, sorry for the bad lighting, but it is what it is. Just wanted to do a little bit of a breakdown of what Super Tuesday might look like, how that might play out for Bernie. So obviously that's the candidate I support for a multitude of reasons, all based on the policy measures that he supports and has been consistent with, things like Medicare for All, Green New Deal, ending the wars, not supporting super PACs or super delegates, legalizing marijuana, ending the racist war on drugs, taxing Wall Street, living wage, etc., etc. So looks like there's basic emphasis from 538, basically 90 or so percent chance that Bernie wins the most votes in California, which is the biggest prize up for grabs tomorrow. I believe they have around 415 delegates up for grabs, and it looks like Bernie Sanders, according to 538's model, will get about 35% of the vote. Crazy Uncle Joseph Biden, 25. Warren and Bloomberg at about 16 apiece. So again, Elizabeth Warren, at this point, all she is doing is making it more likely that there'll be a brokered convention, especially after the fact that Pete Buttigieg dropped out yesterday. Amy Klobuchar dropped out today. Klobuchar came out and endorsed Joe Biden at one of his campaign events. So again, it's just very, very sad and just very disappointing that Elizabeth Warren is actively trying to campaign to make sure Bernie Sanders doesn't win the nomination, because again, there's literally no chance she wins the nomination. Even in a brokered convention, the DNC superdelegate hacks would not support her over Joe Biden. So maybe, she made some type of backroom deal with Joe Biden that she stays in long enough to thwart Bernie getting a majority of the delegates, and maybe she's the VP or Treasury Secretary or something. But again, if you're Elizabeth Warren supporter and you're actually concerned with getting a progressive elected and defeating Donald Trump, Bernie's the only choice. And all you're doing at this point is, by supporting Elizabeth Warren, is again making it more likely that there'll be a broker convention where these super delegates could overturn the will of the people. When that happens, whoever candidate they pick is going to lose handily to Donald Trump. So if you really want to make sure a candidate who goes up against Trump has the best chance of defeating them, that again is Bernie Sanders. Poll after poll shows that. So that's California. Bernie's looking really well there, doing really well. Texas, but at least according to 538's modeling, it's looking pretty close between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, but I've seen some other polls that have shown Bernie Sanders up by a bigger margin there. So if Bernie does even better there, that's obviously, would be a good thing, because he'd pick up more delegates. He would extend that lead over Biden. And so the states that it looks like Joe Biden will win on Super Tuesday are all of the states in the South, more or less, besides, looks like he's gonna win North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, Alabama, and I think I forgot to put Oklahoma on there too. I think Oklahoma also votes tomorrow. And the other states that Bernie Sanders is projected to win, and pretty handily it looks like: Massachusetts, Colorado, Utah, Maine, his home state of Vermont. He has like a 99% chance of winning, and then American Samoa, and then, like I said before, California, and looks like Texas could go either way. So it looks like what Bernie will pick up: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7, potentially 8, maybe 9 would be nice. 10 would be even better, obviously. And 538 has it projected that Bernie Sanders will win the most delegates from Super Tuesday, have him averaging around winning 540 compared to Joe Biden's 495. So Bernie Sanders will leave Super Tuesday with a decent lead in super delegates over, I guess it'd be somewhere around 145, 150, like that, because he has a lead over Joe Biden currently. And we just need to keep up the momentum, knock on doors, make phone calls, donate if you can, talk to friends and family members, post on various social media platforms, because we see what the establishment is willing to do to try to steal the nomination from Bernie Sanders. You know, we saw Klobuchar drop out today. We saw Buttigieg drop out yesterday, and it's just, you know, they're very desperate at this point. They've, you know, thrown everything but the kitchen sink at Bernie Sanders. He's still the front runner. He's still going to leave Super Tuesday with the most delegates. And again, if it gets to the point where it's a brokered convention and Bernie only has a plurality of the delegates, say that 5 times fast, I'm not going to try to do that now, but if he only has a plurality of the delegates, it goes to the second round. The superdelegates vote to overturn the will of the voters and support somebody who isn't Bernie Sanders, which a lot of them have already said that they would do. There was that New York Times article that came out, I think sometime late last week, maybe this weekend, saying how they interviewed, it was like 100 superdelegates, and 93 of them were okay with overturning the will of the voters. So that's why, you know, we need to make sure to do everything that we can so that Bernie gets a majority, because again, the superdelegates do that and vote to overturn the will of the voters, the Democratic Party will cease to exist as we know it. Donald Trump will win on a landslide no matter what, establishment hack the superdelegates throw their support behind. It'd probably be Joe Biden would be my guess. But that's, again, if you're an Elizabeth Warren supporter, I implore you, if you are voting in any of these Super Tuesday states or any contests, you know, later on before the convention happens, support Bernie Sanders. Elizabeth Warren is not a progressive. She's not a friend of our movement. She's okay with taking unlimited, you know, super PAC money to prop up her campaign. She totally flip-flopped on super delegates. Again, she's okay with them overturning the will of the voters, and all she's doing, again, is making it more likely there'll be a brokered convention. If that happens, Donald Trump is, if they go against Bernie, Donald Trump is guaranteed a re-election. That's not something that our country needs at all, obviously, or the world. We need a candidate who will get in there and fight, via a lens of economic and racial justice for things like Medicare for all, a Green New Deal, ending the racist war on drugs, fighting for a living wage, ending the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, taxing Wall Street, taxing the wealthy, all of these things. Bernie Sanders is the only chance. He's a once-in-a-lifetime candidate that we can get elected to the White House to, really drastically improve the lives of the people in the United States and abroad, because he also has the best foreign policy as well, arguably the area where the president has the most impact. So again, if you're Elizabeth Warren support at this point and you haven't casted your ballot for candidate, please support Bernie Sanders. He is the only candidate fighting from a populist left agenda who actually has a chance of getting nominated. Super important. Not me, us. Bernie 2020. Peace. Love.